Prince Charming rides in, singing, "I am a warrior," riding forth. He thinks this performance is his big break. Suddenly, a fake Shrek appears on stage, and everyone cheers and applauds for the ogre. But when Charming tries to act, the people either don't hear him or interrupt him. They clearly don't like him. Suddenly, a cardboard tower prop falls on him, and everyone laughs. Charming says, "You'll regret this," but someone in the crowd shouts that he already regrets it. Humiliated, he leaves the stage and goes to his dressing room. He goes there because he is miserable. He cries and complains to a picture of his mother, the fairy godmother. Because the picture shows his mom kissing her little boy, Charming sobs, "Really, Mom?" eventually screaming that he was supposed to be king. He throws the newspaper on the vanity. He notices the headline, "The king is sick," and Shrek and Fiona are filling in for him. Seeing this, Charming says, "Oh ho." The scene shifts to the castle the next morning, where Shrek and Fiona are waking up. Donkey bursts into the room with his kids, the Dronkies. Puss in Boots also arrives and reads out a long list of duties for the day. Shrek says, "Good," hoping to go back to sleep, but Donkey pulls the covers off, gasping, "Oh," at Shrek's hairy legs. They go out to the public. Shrek tries to knight a man, but instead of tapping the sword gently on his shoulders, he accidentally stabs the sword straight into the knight. Then comes the ship christening. Shrek smashes the bottle against the ship, but throws it too hard. It creates a hole, the mast collapses, and the ship catches fire and sinks. Later, they are getting groomed. Their nose hair is plucked, eyelashes painted, and Shrek gets a pedicure with a grinder. They are squeezed into tight royal clothes. When they try to kiss, their stiff collars bump, and they can't reach each other. Suddenly, Shrek's butt itches like crazy. He calls a servant over and asks him to scratch it. At that moment, outside, the announcer yells to clear the snow, introducing Princess Fiona and Sir Shrek. The curtains open just as the servant is scratching Shrek's butt. Fiona stops him, saying, "Stop it." But Shrek's belt buckle flies off and hits Donkey. Donkey grabs a woman, who slaps him, and a massive brawl breaks out. Shrek says, "That's it, we're going home to the swamp." But Fiona calms him down, saying it's only for a few days. She tries to bring up the topic of having children, but Shrek panics and falls over. Just as Shrek is saying, "Kids are bad, they cry and poop," a frog enters the room gasping for air. Fiona's father, the king, is dying. He tells his wife not to forget to pay the gardener. He tells Shrek he is proud of him. "But there is one more thing," he says, and then dies. Suddenly, he wakes up and tells Shrek, "The kingdom needs a new king. You and Fiona are next in line." Shrek says, "No way, an ogre on the throne is weird," and asks if there is anyone else. The king says, "There is one other, his name is," and dies again. Suddenly he wakes up again. He says, "His name is Arthur." Then he catches a fly with his tongue and finally dies for real. They send the king's body off in a shoe box down the river. Charming watches all of this from a distance and rides his horse to a tavern. Inside the tavern, people are miserable because "Happily Ever After" songs are playing. Charming kicks the door open and strikes a pose, but no one is impressed. He sits at the bar. Instead of Doris, the bartender is Mabel, the ugly stepsister. She says, "You're not welcome here, get out." Charming asks why they aren't fighting back against the good guys. He asks Captain Hook, the evil queen, and the others why they accept their fate. They get angry and grab him. Charming yells, "Wait! We have a lot in common," and wins their trust. They clink glasses, but it turns into a fight. The next morning, Shrek is preparing to leave on a ship to find Arthur. Puss is saying goodbye to some lady cats. Donkey is saying goodbye to the dragon and his babies. Shrek hugs Fiona goodbye. Fiona tries to tell him something, but it's time to board. They get on the ship. As they sail away, Donkey's kids write, "We love you, Daddy," in the sky with smoke. Fiona yells to Shrek from the dock. Just as she says the important part, the ship's horn blasts. Finally, Shrek hears her say she is pregnant. Shrek yells, "Oh boy." Donkey is happy he's going to be an uncle. Puss notices Shrek is terrified. That night, Shrek has a nightmare. He returns to his swamp house, excited to hear his wife's voice. But the house is empty. Suddenly, a baby carriage appears. Inside is a baby ogre. It burps. Shrek is happy, but then the baby vomits on him. Then it cries. How many babies does Shrek have? Thousands. They multiply. Shrek tries to run out of the house, but suddenly he is naked on stage in front of thousands of babies. Ah, it's just a dream, he thinks. Is that why Puss is Shrek's baby? No, it's still a dream. Shrek wakes up screaming. Donkey asks what happened. Shrek admits he can't believe he's going to be a father. Puss suggests they go find the boy, Arthur, to cheer him up. Donkey says having kids isn't a problem. Shrek says he's worried about the kids' lives because people will bully them for being an ogre's children. They arrive at their destination. The gates open, but it looks like an American high school. It is a school. They enter the school looking for Arthur. They ask two students where Arthur is. The students point to a cool guy on a horse jousting. Shrek thinks this cool guy is Arthur, so they walk right over a smaller boy to get to him. But the smaller boy gets angry. That boy is actually Arthur, Artie. Artie runs away. Shrek follows him into a gymnasium where a pep rally is happening. Shrek asks where Arthur is. Everyone points to the loser hanging from a basketball hoop. The cool Justers have pulled a prank on him. Shrek pulls him down and announces, "You are the new king." At first, no one believes it. But Shrek convinces the boy. Arthur says goodbye to everyone, "I love you all," and leaves with Shrek. Meanwhile, guests arrive for Fiona's baby shower. They give gifts, a device for cleaning baby poop, and a dwarf babysitter. While they are talking, the dragon roars. Charming and the villains are attacking on flying broomsticks. They land and start causing chaos. They take over the castle. They trap the dragon in an iron cage. Pinocchio tries to block the door. Fiona pushes a bookshelf against it and tells the princesses to run. Charming breaks the door down. Pinocchio is sitting there. Charming asks where Shrek is. Pinocchio, trying not to lie, so his nose won't grow, gives a very complicated, confusing answer using double negatives and philosophical logic. He basically says, "I can't say that I don't know where he isn't." Charming gets frustrated but figures out Shrek went to get the heir. He orders his men to kill the heir and bring Shrek back. Shrek is on the ship with Arthur. Arthur is excited to be king, imagining the fame. But Donkey and Puss mention that kings often get assassinated or poisoned. Shrek tries to explain the responsibilities of ruling people. Arthur gets scared and turns the ship's wheel. He yells that he can't rule a country. Shrek says, "You'll learn on the job." They fight over the wheel, break it, and the ship crashes into rocks. They wash up on shore. Puss looks like a wet rat. Shrek and Arthur argue. Shrek says, "We are going to the kingdom, and then you will be king." Arthur retorts, "You mean you will be the father?" Donkey suggests Shrek change his tactics and be nicer. Shrek agrees and tries to talk to Arthur calmly. Arthur goes to a strange house to ask for help. A hologram appears saying, "Greetings," but cuts out. A wizard comes out, angry about his garden. Arthur recognizes him as Merlin, his old teacher who had a nervous breakdown. Shrek asks how to get to the kingdom. Merlin says he can't help because he's out of alignment. Later, around a campfire, Merlin looks into the smoke and asks what they see. Shrek sees a baby carriage. Donkey sees cake. Arthur sees a bird and its father. The father bird flies away, leaving the baby. The baby falls. Arthur says, he's falling. It turns out Arthur's dad abandoned him at the school. Merlin leaves. Shrek sits with Arthur and connects with him. Shrek admits he knows what it's like not to be ready. He says his own father wasn't ideal either, he tried to eat him. Yeah, that is tough, Arthur laughs. Shrek explains that people judged him as a monster, so he started believing it himself. But he learned to ignore what people say. Arthur tells Shrek, "You're a good guy. You just need to yell less and shower more." Fiona and the princesses are walking through a secret tunnel in the castle. They come out, wondering if there is a performance happening. Rapunzel runs into the castle, pretending to escape. Fiona and the others follow her, but it's a trap. Charming is waiting. Rapunzel is actually in love with Charming. The princesses are arrested. The next morning, Shrek wakes up to find they are under attack by moving trees. Captain Hook is playing the piano, ordering his men to kill them. A fight breaks out. Hook tries to capture Merlin. Shrek finds a way to launch the piano using a tree, defeating the villains. Hook flees, revealing that Charming has captured Fiona. Shrek knows he has to hurry. Shrek tells Arthur to go back to school for his safety. But Arthur refuses, saying, "I have an idea." He asks Merlin to send them to the kingdom. Merlin complains he hasn't done magic in years. Arthur fake cries to convince him. Shrek plays along. Merlin agrees but warns about side effects. Merlin casts a spell. Lightning strikes. They disappear and land in the forest near the kingdom. But Donkey and Puss have switched bodies. Shrek and Arthur laugh, then run to the kingdom. It is in ruins. They find Pinocchio, who is now a puppet show attraction. He explains that Charming has captured Fiona and is preparing a play to kill Shrek. Knights arrive to arrest them. Puss, in Donkey's body, tries to use his cute eyes, but it looks terrifying on a donkey. Arthur steps up and says, "Don't you know who this is? He's the star of the show." Shrek plays along. The knights are confused but let them into the dressing room. Charming is stressing out about his costume. Shrek appears behind him. Charming is scared but calls the guards. The guards grab Shrek. Charming is about to kill Arthur, but Shrek yells, "Stop. He means nothing to me." Shrek lies, saying he just needed a stand-in because he didn't want to be king. Arthur is heartbroken and walks away. Shrek is chained up. Donkey and Puss, still swapped, meet the princesses in prison. They tell Fiona that Shrek is going to be killed on stage tonight. The princesses decide to break out. The queen headbutts the wall and breaks it down. They get ready. Donkey and Puss join them. Meanwhile, the show is starting. The Cyclops guards Shrek. Fiona and the princesses approach the castle. They use the trees and forest animals to attack the guards. They release the donkeys, Pinocchio, and the three pigs. At the castle gate, the ugly stepsister, Doris, distracts the guards with her legs. Inside the castle courtyard, Donkey, in Puss's body, proposes a plan. He says, "I'll use stealth." But the wolf says, "We are Alpha Wolf Squadron." The pigs say, "We are Ham Squadron." Donkey says, Okay, we are the Alpha Ham Wolf Dynamite Squadron." They break in. Puss and Donkey find Arthur and explain that Shrek lied to save his life. Arthur realizes the truth. The play begins. Rapunzel sings. Charming comes out to rescue her. He sings in a terrible, high-pitched voice. The audience laughs. Shrek is revealed in chains. Charming says, "Prepare to suffer." Shrek jokes, "The only suffering is hearing your voice." The crowd laughs. Shrek keeps roasting Charming, "Are you wearing men's tights?" Charming gets furious and prepares to kill Shrek. But the dragon flies in, knocking down the set. The princesses drop in from the ceiling. Donkey, Puss, and the gang arrive. Fiona apologizes for being late. Charming calls his villain army. They surround Shrek and his friends. It looks hopeless. Just as they are about to fight, Arthur jumps onto the stage. "Stop," he yells. He asks the villains if this is really what they want, to be losers and villains forever. Captain Hook says, "It's easy for you to say, you're not a wicked tree." A tree steps forward and says, "Actually, I always wanted to play the flute." Arthur gives a speech, "Just because people call you a monster or a villain doesn't mean you have to be one. The only thing that matters is how you see yourself." The villains drop their weapons. Doris and Mabel make up. The headless knight says he always wanted to play the flute too. Charming is furious. He breaks free and tries to stab Arthur. Shrek jumps in the way. The sword goes under Shrek's arm. It looks like he's dead, but he's faking it. He grabs the sword. Charming is shocked. The dragon knocks over the fake stone tower, and it crashes down on top of Charming. Arthur picks up the crown. Shrek tells him, "It's yours if you want it. The choice is yours." Arthur puts on the crown. The crowd cheers. Merlin appears. Donkey and Puss demand he fix them. Merlin casts a spell. They switch back. But their tails are still swapped. They decide to leave it for later. King Arthur is ruling the kingdom. Back at the swamp, Shrek makes a slug cocktail for Fiona. She is feeding the babies. Shrek and Fiona now have triplets. One is crying, one is vomiting. Donkey and Puss visit. The babies are chaotic, one pulls Puss's fur, one creates gas in the bath. A babysitter dwarf shows up, but Shrek puts a pacifier in the dwarf's mouth and sends him away. Shrek and Fiona finally get the babies to sleep. They say, "Hey, we have time for ourselves." But they are so tired they fall asleep immediately. Then a baby cries. Shrek gets up to handle it. The end.